Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is your briefing on retraining. I am Master Sergeant Ibarra, and I will be covering down the brief today. So first thing to note here, you can always go refer to MyFSS for information about retraining. But in general here, we're going to be talking about just when the window opens. So essentially for a 4-year enlistee, you have to have hit your 35th month, which is the month before your 3rd year, in order to be eligible. For a 6-year enlistee, you have to hit the 59th month, which is the month before your 5th year, in order to be eligible. For overseas, in the AFI it notes 15 to 9 months prior to DEROS, but you have to understand that it's still within the fiscal year in which your DEROS resides. So regardless of the month or the 15th to 9th, if it's not within the fiscal year, it's not necessarily accurate. And also with that, you have to have entered the window. So just because you're overseas and you have a DEROS, you still, as a 4-year enlistee, have to hit the 35th month, or a 6-year enlistee, you have to hit the 59th month. In terms of second-term career airmen, your AFSC must be on the retraining out list. So you have to be on the objective out list in order to be eligible to retrain into another career field. You have to choose the AFSC that's on the in list. If your AFSC is not on the out list, you could volunteer for a critically manned AFSC. But that would not happen until phase 3 of the process. You can refer to the retraining advisory for current quotas and openings. Still, just as we talked about with first term airmen, your DEROS must be the same fiscal year as the retraining quotas. So fiscal year begins 1 October and runs to 30 Sep. So just be sure that you understand that it has to be in the fiscal year in which your DEROS resides. So every August, the listing comes out for the next fiscal year. So if your fiscal year is 25, then August of 24, the listing will drop, and that'll be the list that you'll be able to play off of. So when we're talking about fiscal year calendar retraining restrictions, by AFI it recommends that if you have a DEROS projected between the months of October to February, the AFI recommends that you extend for 6 months. Okay, so that's just a recommendation that you extend for 6 months, and essentially the reasoning behind that is that it takes you out of the assignment window. So you won't have an assignment that will conflict with the retraining. Because if you have a retraining package in and you get popped with an assignment, essentially the assignment takes precedence and you'll have to apply for retraining at a later date. So just keep that aware. If you're between October and February, you are advised or recommend that you extend your DEROS out for 6 months. Okay. When we talk about DEROS extensions, you also have to keep in mind that there is a 12 months eligibility or retainability requirement for any voluntary assignment program. Meaning if your DEROS is June of 24, your date of separation needs to be June of 25. You have to have 12 months retainability in order to be eligible for a lot of the voluntary assignment programs. Okay. Same thing, like you need 12 months to be eligible for an assignment. Okay, so applying for retraining, easy as 1, 2, 3. So step 1 is just the eligibility. Are you eligible to retrain in the first place, right? You can review automatic disqualifiers located in AFI 36-2626 and Retraining Program Chapter 4, and review retainability requirements in Table 4.1. Okay. Step 2, review the online retraining advisory list and advisory notes. So you can check in there and see. For your first term airman, you're going to be looking at the objectives in. Make sure you look at the advisory notes. If it says something like, hey, they're only taking E5s, then obviously you wouldn't be eligible, right? So you got to make sure that you check the advisory notes. For career airmen as well, we got to remember you can check the in, but you still have to have the objective out in order to retrain out of your career field. Okay, so check the online retraining advisory and advisory notes. Step 3, review the Air Force Enlisted Classification Directory. So this is essentially a guide that has every single AFSC in the Air Force and what all the qualifications and requirements are. So you can kind of do your homework, right? You can go in and pull up the AFECD and look through it and just kind of get an idea. Hey, these are the AFSCs that I'm interested in, and these are all the requirements and qualifications that I'm going to need to get before I apply for these AFSCs. Okay, the AFECD is just available online. So if you go to the Air Force portal and look in the search bar, you go to MyFSS and go in the search bar AFECD, it will pop up. Okay, and then step 4, essentially you apply for retraining, right? So if you went through, you got your eligibility, it said, hey, congratulations, you're eligible. You would go through the process and you could start it then. You would review the online retraining advisory, the advisory notes, you would cross-reference it with the AFECD, and then you would apply for your retraining. Okay, so how do you do that? All of the new information is available now on MyFSS, so you go to MyFSS, and retraining is a two-step process. The eligibility verification comes first, and then the application submission comes second. Eligibility verification is just an automated process for eligible airmen. Think of it as like the first line of defense. Essentially, they're going to go through and just kind of quick scrub your record just to make sure you're actually eligible for airmen overseas. What is that? They're going to look and say, hey, is this member in the fiscal year in which their DEROS resides? If you're not, it's going to tell you right there. If you don't have the 12 months of retainability to be eligible, it might tell you right there, right? So that's kind of the first step. After that, it's a manual review for individuals who require exception to policy. So if you do require an ETP, that will be manually reviewed by the TFSC, Total Force Service Center. Once eligibility is determined, online application is submitted if desired. So if you log into MyFSS and click on the career management tile kind of toward the middle of the page, it's the one with people in mock gear with the purple smoke. You click on the career management tile on the airman community page, and this tile is going to take you to another page. And at this point, you're going to click on the Reg AF retraining page. That is going to take you to what looks like this right here. So the retraining homepage is going to give you a whole bunch of different retraining programs. It's going to tell you all the exceptions to policy. So if you have an AFSC that's listed under this exception to policy, make sure you read through the exception to policy letter and get all the information that you need. And if you go toward the bottom, you're going to see your tools. The Air Force Work Interest Navigator, the AFSC Warfare retraining package requirements, the actual apply for retraining tab, the Air Force Enlisted Office of Special Investigation application is available there as well. So at the bottom of this page, there's a button that says apply for retraining. This currently is the only button that works right now to submit your application. So once again, the bottom of this page in the middle, there's one button that says apply for retraining. That is the only button that currently functions until they go through and fix the page. So eligibility verification requests. Members can also locate through the active duty retraining homepage through learn more about and search knowledge articles at the top of the screen. Okay, but this is what that's going to look like. Members should review all the information before submitting their applications, right? Make sure you have all the documents that you need. So essentially, now we'll step through the process here. For retraining, you're going to create a request. Following application will determine your potential eligibility. So like I said before, this is the eligibility determination here. If you click through and you check any of these boxes, you're probably not eligible to retrain. But if you don't have any of these, you would click none of the above, apply to me, click next. In some cases, you'll need an agent bypass interview for retraining, or you'll say, hey, boom, you're not eligible right here, and they'll tell you why you're not eligible. So this example here, you're ineligible due to AFI 36-2606, table 5.3, ineligible for promotion or reenlistment, code 3C. So this would render you ineligible. Also, this member here, this example, shows they have an invalid return date for this fiscal year's retraining. So like I said before, you can see the DEROS here is August 17th, 2025. So the member is not eligible to process a retraining until August of 24, when the fiscal year 25 retraining advisory comes out. So this action will create a closed case for your records as you've been identified as ineligible for retraining. So that's essentially just closing that out there. If you member is eligible, requires a waiver, they will be able to add the attached waiver to the case to reopen it for review. So if you needed that, you would click here and you would add that in there. So you acknowledge the requirements, you have all the things you need to do, and you can do a PT test within 30 days of the class start date. Select whether you've been miscounseled or unjustly denied while trying to apply for your retraining. You would, if that happened to you, you would note that here. And then you would get to the AFSC selection. So it's going to give you a list of all the AFSCs that are available based on the list that drops in August. So this is all going to be right here. You're going to see all the jobs that they're looking for, and you will see the quotas, okay? So a lot of discussion has been had about the ETP that came out talking about all the AFSCs below 90%. That's still going to look like this. Okay, there's no magic list that says, hey, these AFSCs are 90%. It's still going to formulate, and it's going to show to our end as a quota. So here you see FTA, let's say for diagnostic imaging, they're looking for 10 airmen, okay? So if you are a first-term airman, you would only look at the first-term airman column in this page. Okay, once again, if you are a first-term airman, you would only look at the first-term airman column, regardless of if you're a staff sergeant or a technical sergeant, okay? if you are a career airman, you will only look at the rank-specific requirements. So if you're a career airman, you have re-enlisted once in your career, you would look, if you're a staff sergeant, you would look at staff sergeant. If you're a tech sergeant, you look at tech sergeant, master, master. If you have a projected rank, you look at the projected rank in which you're trying to see. All right. So here continues on with the AFSC selection. Here in this point of the video or in the slides, it just shows you what the example is. If you pick right here, this member picked 4, so they picked 1N7 human intel specialist. They picked 2 alpha aircraft maintenance helper, 2 alpha low observable aircraft structural maintenance, and then 3F the equal opportunity helper. So here you can rack and stack your jobs here. So this gives you the opportunity to do that. Okay. After that, you selected these, you would go ahead and just click submit. And then there, your eligibility request would be submitted. Okay, so now this goes to the Total Force Service Center, and they would review this part of it. Okay, and then essentially what would happen is you get this information right here. It's going to inform you that your reference number has been created and submitted to AFPC retraining. You'll receive an email notification within 20 days. So this just kind of tells you all the information that you need to know, what you get back. And then your eligibility review will come back as well. If you are eligible for whatever AFSCs you listed, it's going to basically give you a form that looks like this, an email that has all the information. It's going to tell you all the qualifications and requirements you need for the jobs that you selected. All this information is also available in the AFECD. So remember, you can kind of do the homework, go in there and already know ahead of time what you need. Okay. So that case is now open. You have it in the system. This is what it looks like in MyFSS. You have cases open. Boom, there's your retraining requests. Status eligible and substatus or substatus eligible. Status is open. You can look at the details here, and you can also communicate here with the Total Force Service Center. So this is, if you have any questions, you can go in there. Hey, I'm not sure about this form or whatever it is. You can go in here and then pass that information along. Also, related documents is where you would upload all the documents. Okay, right here, related documents. So all the qualifications and documents that you need, you would be continually just updating these into this file right here. Okay, so once you finish and you update all the files in there and everything's good to go, it's going to go back for review. And if you get approved, you're going to get this message. Cool, congratulations. You've been accepted for retraining 3 Foxtrot pending an available class seat. You'll be notified once a class seat is available and determined. So specifically, remember, since we're overseas, right, just keep in mind that they're still going to try to put your class date somewhere close to your DEROS. Okay, they're not going to try to get too far from your DEROS. Keep that in mind. So here you've been approved for retraining, this example, and then here that case would now move to a closed status because you have been approved for retraining. And there it is, what it look like there, approved, and there's your case. Okay. So with those changing, I know the ETP came out and everybody had a lot of questions, right? Essentially, first-term airmen applying for retraining would no longer be boarded. Okay, previously it used to go to a board, it was a computer board, it would look at a bunch of different things. Now it's essentially a first-come, first-served basis, right? So when that list drops in August and you're interested in retraining, essentially, you're going to start gathering up all your documents and you're going to want to upload those into the system as soon as possible and get that application in as soon as possible, right? So just think about it in terms of, hey, if I'm trying to be a weather troop and they're accepting 6 first-term airmen, you want to be one of those 6. Maybe you want to be one of the first 6 to upload all your docs, right? So first-term airmen who laterally retrain will no longer lose their FTA retrain option. So like a 3 Papa, if you went to K9 or you went to CADM, you wouldn't lose your first-term airman eligibility. Okay, you would still have that. First-term airmen are authorized to apply for any AFSC that is manned below 90%. Like I said, it's not going to change what the quota looks like. There's just going to be more jobs available on there, hopefully. Right? And as of fiscal year 24, FTA quotas will be open to all FTA who enter their window within the fiscal year. If an airman will enter the retraining window in the upcoming fiscal year, they can apply in August when the list drops. So here's a great website, a great tool. It's called the Air Force Work Interest Navigator, AFWIN. If you go in here, essentially what it's going to do is just ask you a lot of questions. Here you'll find it under the tools section. But it'll ask you, just kind of contextual questions about what you're interested in. And it'll kind of spit out, essentially, what AFSC recommends that you apply for. So if this is something that interests you, very great tool to utilize. It'll also give you some good information here. Kind of just an overall surgical service. What is the job task, right? What are the work activities? How long is the technical training? Answer all those questions for you. Okay. Here you can go in, kind of plug in your scores and throw some things in there, and it'll tell you if you're eligible or what would be a good fit for you. So yeah, once again, great tool. That's all we have for the retraining briefing. You can scan this QR code to give our contact information. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the PDC. Like I said, I'm Master Arnibara. There you can see our information. But yeah, feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Thank you for your time, and have a wonderful day.